Hello, everyone. Marjorie Roman here, and we have the one and only Dan Olsen in the house. Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, it's nice to be one and only. I think that can apply to anyone in the world. You're the one and only you. But I'm grateful to be here with you today, Marjorie.
Oh, thank you so much. And we're super excited for this new episode because today we're going to talk about law. And I know that it can be a little bit scary, the legal side of a business. And first of all, we're going to talk about the FDD, or Franchise Disclosure Document. So what is that document?
Okay, the franchise disclosure document is designed to take the scariness away because it's our wonderful government helping the franchise consumer who invests in a franchise to protect you. It's not to protect the franchisor, although it can, obviously, with some of the language that's in there, but it's to protect you and how you choose a franchise. And there are a lot of things that have to be disclosed. It's divided up into 23 different items in that franchise disclosure document. Plus there's several exhibits like the franchise agreement that you would actually sign if you were a franchisee. But it's designed to protect you so that you can have everything disclosed up front for you. So like any lawsuits that any of the officers are involved with, or any of the bankruptcies, or any of the things that they've been through, that has to be disclosed to you so that you'll know what you're getting into before you get into it. And of course, the investment amounts and the training and all the different types of things that you can count on that the franchisor, in this case, has to supply to you. And, we're going to make this legal thing, legal is kind of tough sometimes to get through, and it's a little bit scary. And some of these franchise disclosure documents can be a little bit scary, but they're simplified once you have a good advisor to help you walk through it. It's really not that difficult. And so legal can actually be exciting when you get through it.
And actually, one of my friends who now owns I think it's a smoothie brand. He owns a franchise, and he mentioned, yeah, you know what? As I was reading the FDD with my advisor, it felt like it was a long sales brochure with all the information that I needed to know to succeed on my business. So for all of those of you who are listening to this podcast, don't be scared of the FDD, because then again, this is important information for you to actually know what business you're choosing and for you to know how this business has systems for you to be protected and successful when you start. So you also mentioned the franchise agreement, though. What is the difference between the FDD and the franchise agreement?
Yes, the agreement is the actual instrument that it's designed specifically for you. They'll put your name and address and information in there, and that's what you'd sign to become a franchisee once you're granted that right. But the franchise agreement will mirror, in many cases, what's included in the first half of the franchise disclosure document. And that's all the items that they've disclosed, like royalties and things like that. So you'll see how that mirrors that in many cases, but it will become in the format of an actual agreement that you sign. So that's really what you want to spend your time on and look at that and see where, if you can live with what's in there. Now, I will tell you, this is where some of the fear comes from in the world of franchising, is that agreement, because it's pretty one-sided. People start reading through that you as the franchisee, you must do this and you must do that and you must all this kind of stuff. Now they have to be pretty strict on that because they want to protect the entire system so they don't have a rogue franchisee over here doing everything on their own, doing it a different way and tearing down the brand. So that's why they have to have it fairly strict. But don't let that strictness scare you away. It's a system that you follow. It works. It makes the difference in your success and your failure when you follow that system. And so if you can't live with that system, then you really don't maybe want to get into that particular franchise. Maybe you look at something different. But it's designed to help you succeed. And when you look at the agreement and what's expected of you, there's also things that are expected of the franchisor, that they must supply you with the proper training and the proper system and the proper help and the proper tools to make sure that you do succeed. So even though it may appear to be one-sided, there's still a lot that the franchisor has to do to make sure you're successful. So, and the other thing that we help with is some of our advisors will walk you right through it and make it simplified for you so that it's not too crazy of an experience. And even then, sometimes franchisees take the time to take it to an attorney and let the attorney decipher a little bit of it. And the attorneys will rip it apart and whatever as they do. And that's fine, because then you can make some adjustments at the end, usually in the form of an addendum, which allows you to feel a little more comfortable with what you're signing, because you've had some professional legal service look at it, as well as your advisor help you through it. So there's a lot of different ways to protect you before you sign that agreement. And once again, you have some time to do that. It's not just like you have to, here's the agreement, sign it or you're out. You have plenty of time to get through it and make sure it's the right thing for you.
That's right. And I also love it how you also have the opportunity to take it to an attorney. But please be aware, don't take it to any attorney, not like because you have your neighbor who does family law or your other neighbor who does a little bit of real estate law. Make sure that it's a business corporate attorney, so that way they know exactly and have the expertise to review that document with you. And also, you can always have the help of the advisor, because he has already so much experience on so many different agreements that have been created by different franchisors. You mentioned that there's a certain time that we have for signing all of these documents and for reviewing them. So how much time does one have for signing the FDD?
All right. That's a very, very important question, not only for the franchisor, but for you as a franchisee to understand that. Because a franchisor supplying you with that franchise disclosure document, let's say they're pushing you, oh, you got to sign this and you need to send the money in right now. Otherwise, we're going to sell your territory out from under you.
Oh, no.
They can't do that. They can't do that. So once they disclose you, that's what it's called, they disclose you with the franchise disclosure document. Once you receive that, and it can be done by email. We used to do it back in the day personally. Here you go. And then they would sign the agreement sign the FDD receipt right then and there. What you will need to do when you receive that is on the very last page of that document, usually, and that's the way most franchises have it set it up, is what's called a receipt page. It's item 23. And so when you receive that by email, usually sometimes it's done electronically or you scan it and send it back, either way, they will ask you to send back that receipt page acknowledging that you've received that document. There's no obligation to you. You don't have to put out any money. It's not obligating you to move forward with the franchise. It's just stating for the government that you've received a copy of that document, which is very, very important that you get that, because we don't have a franchise without that document. That franchise disclosure document is what creates the franchise entity. That has to be in place. So once you receive that, now the time starts ticking. And there's a minimum of 14 days that you have to have that document in your hands before you can even sign any agreements or put any money forward. So that just is a cooling off period to make sure that you are doing your due diligence, and the franchisor is not just pulling your money in as quickly as they can. They have to wait too. And they're going to help you take that through step by step. So there's that protection that you have with those laws that allow you to wait at least 14 days to move forward.
And I feel like the cool thing about also having that 14-day period for you to review all of these documents is because, like, we're also seeing quite a bit of people that are within my age range that are a little bit excited about getting into business. And I actually was talking to my franchisee friend who owns this smoothie brand franchise. And he mentioned, yeah, I am so glad that I had the 14 days, because otherwise I would have signed at the very next day as soon as I got the paper, because I was super excited about the system. So it's always good that the franchisor, they are also thinking of the future franchisee, and they are protecting you and making sure that you do review the documents with the right time for you to be safe and confident on your investment, because as any investment, it's something serious that you gotta be careful with. You mentioned item 23. So let's talk a little bit about all of these items. What are some of the most important items that you would see, that you would really pay attention on the FDD?
Yeah, the most important items that I like to look at, and I skip to fairly quickly, is the item 5, where it talks about the initial investment.
Ooh.
What's my startup costs? And what they put in there is, and they're going to protect themselves, but they're going to do their best to put in, what are the startup costs? And so they're going to have a column with the low side. This is if I really are able to get a really good deal on everything, I find the right location. I don't need a lot of tenant improvements, and I need less equipment than normal, and I can start it for a lot less money. That's the low side. And then there's the high side column, which is, okay, I really want to be extravagant. I want to make sure I do the right thing, or my location where I'm at requires certain things, even a bigger tenant improvement cost. So therefore, it might be on the high side, but usually it's going to be somewhere in the middle, hopefully more toward the lower side to your startup. So this is going to outline every little startup cost. It's going to outline the franchise fee. Usually it's the top. That's number one. And then it will outline the tenant improvements. It'll outline equipment that you need to have. And the other important thing is not only will it tell you how much that is, it will tell you where you're going to get it from. So they have to disclose, okay, you're getting it from the company, or no, you're getting it from this third party. And usually there's a note at the bottom disclosing where you're going to get it. So that allows you to really tear it apart and see exactly what it's all about. It'll even look at the first few months of employee costs. It'll look at any additional contingency costs, other startup costs, marketing costs. It'll outline all of that so that you come down to the bottom line and you're going to see, oh, I'm going to need X amount of money to start. Let's say it's $200,000. That way you know, okay, I need the $200,000, but in most cases, hardly anybody pays cash for that. It just doesn't happen. It happens once in a while, but most people will finance that. And so you're going to need that for the SBA or other types of loans. You'd need 25 to 30% of that down. That's usually that bottom portion of the total of what those startup costs. So that's one of the big things that you need to really analyze. And your advisor will take you through that step by step. So you make sure that you understand that and what you're going to need to do so that you can feel comfortable about moving forward. One of the other items, of course, is the next one or two items, 6 and 7, where you're talking about the royalty stream. Okay, how much are my ongoing costs for this? Well, usually in a franchise, there is a royalty. And that is paid to the franchisor, and they're going to in turn give you back training and support and be able to use the name continually and be an authorized franchisee of that company. That allows you to continue to succeed because you have all that support and that mentorship. So they need to make money as well. They're sharing their opportunity with you. So you need to be understanding that you're a partner with them and they need to make some money as well. The majority of it comes to you, obviously, because you're the franchisee and it is your own business. But you'll see those startup costs and you'll see other types of costs and things that are important for you to understand before you get started on a franchise.
I was also looking into item 6 and how it mentioned something called the Brand Development Fund fee. What is that fee for?
All right. So you've got the royalty fee. That's to help with the support and everything. But the brand development is a marketing fee. That allows you, as well as all the other franchisees, to participate on a grand scale of building the brand nationwide to help develop the brand, which helps you develop even further in your area. Now, typically what happens in the brand development fee is those fees are strategically put together in a given territory. So if you're let's say you're in a territory with 3 other franchisees in the big city that you're in, now you get to help share in some of those fees and how that money is to be spent to help promote your business as well as the other franchisees in the area. That's what creates the synergism in the advertising program to develop the brand usually in your area, because it does no good for the franchisor if there's only 50 franchises across the country, and does no good to advertise and promote in an area where they're not. So the best use of those funds are to promote the brand in a particular geographic territory until you get to the point where you have 1,000 units across the country.
That's right, especially because when a franchise is doing all of these marketing efforts, you usually see like ads popping on your phone, let's say on social media, that says, new coupon or new discount on, I don't know, Chick-fil-A, or we're doing a Friday at this one restaurant. And those tiny little efforts make it so future clients, they're like, oh, wow, that restaurant sounds pretty cool. Let me look it up. Is there one close to my territory so I can go visit it? Now, speaking about territory, what about item 12? It talks a little bit about the territory. So what are some of the details that we can find on that item 12?
That's a big question that comes up a lot, because a lot of franchisors will put in the franchise disclosure document, hey, we can put another one of these 1.5 miles away. And a lot of times that's way too close. But they have to look at the big picture of what's going on, because when you get in a bigger city like New York or whatever, you've got a river that divides the area, and you've got bridges up here. And so you could still have one across the river, but it might be 5 miles to get around to the other one. So you kind of have to look at from the franchisor standpoint that they're not going to put them too close together, because they want to see you succeed. If they start doing that and there's too much closeness of those franchise locations, that can be a detriment to the franchisor as well, to the franchisee. So they're very careful about how close they put those together. So sometimes in that item 12, a territory is listed that there can only be so many, even maybe per population. And that's a good thing too, because that limits the number that they can put in and allows you to really dominate your area as your franchisee. And they know their stuff usually, so they put those in there to be correct. Now, there are some and that's what's called not necessarily an exclusive territory, it's more of a protected territory, so that you are protected. So you'll want to pay attention to that, how big that is, and the definition of what that means, so you can be protected. And it's listed in there in the item 12. Now, sometimes you get in there like a home-based type franchise where there's no location. You're working out of your home. You may not have a territory. It may be the whole country. And so you've got to look at that too and see how that will impact your business. And your advisor will take you through that and help you understand that. But that's a really important item to look at, Marjorie. Thank you for bringing that one up.
That's right. And I feel like it also mentions like exactly all the knowledge that the franchisor has been gathering on the territory. It's funny how you mentioned that there could be a river dividing two different branches of the same franchisor. I literally was talking to the owner of Swig. For those of you who are in the Utah area, in Draper, there happened to be a highway that divides the territory in two. And in one side of the highway, you would have one branch of Swig, and then on the other side of the highway, you also have another Swig, which is funny enough. But when you mentioned how difficult it is from one point to another one to get distance-wise, yeah, it does take quite a bit of miles for you to get from the one that is on one side of the highway to the other one, just because of how busy that highway is and how you have to take a different path. So it does add up. And after talking to those two owners on those two branches, they mentioned, you know what, funny thing, the other fella who is like across the highway, he's bumping up my marketing so much, because every time that you have college students coming into the city, they always think, stop at exit something and you're going to find a Swig. That's what they already know. Either if they're coming northbound or southbound, they already know that at that exit, they're going to find that brand. So it's really cool how you get to see that on the disclosure and also on the agreement, because the franchisors, they have already done their research and they already know which territories are the ones that are the most profitable for them as well as for you as a new franchisee. Now, what about if you want to relocate your branch? Is that something that we would find on the franchise disclosure document?
Yeah, you can certainly do that. There's usually some type of a small little relocation fee, because the company has to do their due diligence to help you do that. And it depends on the lease structure. But certainly if you're not getting this exposure you need in a location, why stay there? We want to get you to a place where you can do that. But obviously we've done our homework, all of us together, to make sure it's the right thing. Now, I want to mention this one last thing. About maybe you can make this legal process a little more fun. How would you like a free master's degree in business? I'm going to offer you a free master's degree in business.
Sign me up.
Okay? This is free. And this is only going to take you 2 hours to read the textbook. And it's only going to take you another maybe hour to understand it with an advisor. and you'll have an equivalent to almost a master's degree in business. So when you think about it, when you go to college and you get that textbook, it is a 200 or 300 or 400 pages long. FDDs can be a couple hundred pages long or more. So if you take the 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4, to read through that, get with your advisor, take you through that, you understand it, you're going to understand the components of business, what it's all about, and understand it. So look at it as a master degree that you don't got to go through this FDD. Oh, this is going to be trouble with the legal, and I don't want to go through all that. Look at this. I get to go through this, and I get to have equivalent to a master's degree in franchising. If you really understand what's in there, you'll come out of there knowing so much more about business and how it's put together, because it has to be disclosed to you, and it's actual real life business that you're looking at, not in a textbook, but in a real solid business document that can give you education like you've never had before. So if you do nothing else, looking at a franchise, get through that exercise, and it'll give you almost the equivalent of having a master's degree in just a few hours, rather than go for a whole semester or 2 years. You got it in a few hours. Look at it that way, that you get to go through that document on the legal side, and it makes it even more pleasing and exciting to come out at the end.
Thank you so much again, Dan. And thank you to our audience. So there you have it. If you want your super fast-paced master in business, don't be scared of reading that FDD, because that could truly change your life, because you would be investing in the business of your dreams that is going to generate the profit that you need for financial freedom. We're going to see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.